The Dodgers have not signed Roki Sasaki yet, but it's only a matter of time. We want to talk about what happens after that. What are the next moves? Plus, we'll look forward to the Dodgers opening day lineup, and we will wonder, why do people keep insisting on being wrong about deferred money? Let's get live on Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Dodger fans, this is Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks to our everydayers for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning, and thanks to those of you who are with us live here on Wednesday evening. Remember, this show is free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers, and you can make it easier on yourself. Just subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now. It's easier for you. It's better for me. Hey, that's what I call a win-win. If this is your first time with us, my name is Snider. Jeff Snider. It sounded like I said Jess. Now I understand. People always think I say Jess. Jeff?
Jeff. A little bit of Jeff.
Hi, I'm Jeff.
My name is Jeff.
My normal co-host is Vince Samperio. He's not here. That guy next to me is my buddy Clint Pasillas. I'm the guy with glasses. He's the one without glasses.
And I'm the guy who just applauded for myself.
Hey, somebody's got to do it. Vince and Clint and I are all lifelong Dodger fans, just like most of you. We've also all spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room. So we do bring you the smart fans perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. You can tell this is Locked On Dodgers because Clint's hat is facing forward. Those of you who know him from All Dodgers with Clint Pasillas or Dodger Territory with Clint and Alana, you're used to the backwards hat, but we have standards around here. It's like, when you go to a fancy restaurant, got to put on a jacket. You come to Locked On Dodgers, you turn that hat around, young man. Clint, thanks for
I'll wear a tie. No, yeah. Happy to be here as always. Always fun to talk Dodger baseball with you, Jeff. And Joff. And listen, we're in that waiting period. Everybody was hoping we'd get some Roki news today. We kind of got some news, but there's still nothing.
Yeah, and I don't know if we really expected official news today, but yeah, you would hope that something will start trickling in. And now, at least now that it is officially into the signing period, now teams can officially trade for more bonus pool if they're going to do that. There are rumors that the Dodgers and Padres are both trying to do that, which would probably suggest that both teams are still believe they're in on Roki. But also it just would also make sense to, if you want more money, knowing that one of the teams, whichever team does get Roki, is going to probably end up reneging on some commitments they had. And so there may be some talent available out there. So you might want more international pool money for that reason. Anyway, neither team has yet pulled off a trade for any pool money. So right now it's just rumors that they're talking about it. None of us really have any idea how much money is going to play a factor in Roki's decision anyway. But you know what? Our last two episodes have been almost entirely Roki centric. So today we just spent the first couple minutes talking about Roki. Now we're done. No more Roki talk until he inevitably signs while we're talking.
During the show is going to happen.
It will become an all Roki podcast.
The chat's going to want Roki talk, but guys, there's nothing that's changed. There's just barely anything that's changed. So I'm always happy to talk about something else because, hey, we're 4-ish weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting.
Less than 4 weeks, man.
I'm bad at math and bad at numbers. That's why I'm here with you, Jeff.
26 and a half days, baby.
Let's go.
Yeah. And so what we want to talk about right now is after the Dodgers inevitably sign Roki Sasaki, what else do they do? Because like you said, it's 3.5 weeks basically, and there's still stuff to do. And it's not like obviously any consideration of Jack Flaherty is probably being held up by the Roki Sasaki decision, but the other stuff isn't necessarily related. Like specifically Tanner Scott, like there's no reason that the Dodgers necessarily need to wait for Roki to sign before they decide whether to sign Tanner Scott. I think that is more just waiting for Tanner Scott's market to come back down to earth a little bit. But I would guess, like, obviously a lot of the Dodgers' attention, the front office attention between the fires and Roki Sasaki, I imagine the Dodgers front office hasn't had a ton of time to spend on other things. And so maybe once Roki's done, hopefully the fires are all taken care of soon. and then it can kind of get back to business as usual for these last few weeks before spring training. I think Tanner Scott's going to be a Dodger. What's your gut feeling right now? I know you've gone back and forth just like I have.
Yeah, I would love for Tanner Scott to be a Dodger. I just find it difficult to see the Dodgers, to envision the Dodgers going to that price range if he is looking for, what is it, 20 million a year, 4 years, something like that. We've seen that kind of number. And I understand, the Dodgers were in the market in the past for somebody like a Josh Hader. They have spent big money on a reliever in the past with somebody like Kenley Jansen. I don't know that it's as pressing of a need to commit that much more. I mean, unless, Tanner Scott does that thing that MLB fans really love and he takes some significant deferrals or what have you. I mean, the Dodgers have the money to make it happen. I just, people at times accuse me of being negative. I have a hard time seeing it. That said, would love for Tanner Scott to be in a Dodger uniform because there's a very clear need for one extra high leverage arm there at the back end of that bullpen.
Kenny Chung in the chat is with you. Tanner Scott isn't going to be a Dodger, too expensive and not Friedman's MO. I agree with you, except I don't think he's going to get that much. And that's why, I think there's a difference between his asking price in January and what he'll actually end up signing for. I suspect, I think Dodgers are going to sign him for 3 years, 45 to 48 million, 15, 16 million a year, a 3-year deal. I think that kind of fits in with Friedman's MO, not going too long-term on a reliever, not going too, they signed Joe Kelly for 3 years, right?
and waiting for that pitcher or that player's market to come to them. Usually Dodgers don't chase unless it's Shohei. Of course, right now with Roki, other players, you didn't even see them go out and really chase Teoscar Hernandez, who's somebody everybody in the world wanted back. They won't chase. They're going to wait for that market to come down. So I could see it happening. If there is a Tanner Scott signing, do you see it happening like on the heels of or just before spring training kicking off? How soon after Roki do you think something like that could happen?
Yeah, where are the Dodgers at on the 40-man right now? Do they have it?
I think they're
spot?
Filled up, or they're at 39.
They were full, but then they did something, right? Because
I think the Lux move put them at 39.
That's what it is, yeah.
And so they could, I know
so
people,
they don't need to wait. Yeah,
and I'm assuming people in the chat are going to eventually start saying, re-sign Kiké, bring back Kiké. They could. That's
what we're going to talk about next. Matt has a point in the comment in the chat. Don't pay that much for somebody that likely won't be the closer with Blake Trinan still there. For me,
Michael Kopech, by the way, still there.
For me, I don't care about the role, and I don't think the Dodgers do either. And honestly, I don't think Tanner Scott does either. I think I think saves were important for Craig Kimbrell because Craig Kimbrell is trying to get to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And as a closer, you need to have a bunch of saves. Kenley Jansen, saves are important. Tanner Scott, he's not going to go to the Hall of Fame. This is his big free agency. And so, he's not going to worry about, as long as he's being paid like a closer, like an elite reliever, let's call it that. He doesn't care. Obviously he's not going to say, oh, we're going to use you in middle relief, so we're only going to give you $7 million a year. No, he's not going to sign that deal. But I don't care, and I don't think the Dodgers care what role he's going to be. And honestly, Tanner Scott will get, if he signs with the Dodgers, he'll get a handful of saves at least. Nobody's going to be the closer, and that's kind of the point. When you've got 6 guys who can close, that's a great situation to be in.
Yeah, and that's what they want. They want to add more of those dudes at the back end of the bullpen where if we see a situation where Evan Phillips kind of falters again, we know Alex Vesia can pick up some saves, provided they come to a amicable contract with this arbitration deal. Hopefully they don't go to a hearing. But to add another lefty to the mix where they did that thing they do. They maybe caught lightning in a bottle with the Anthony Banda edition, but he's still around. And if he's good, then you have 3 lefties and you have a couple of dudes, a whole bunch of dudes who could plug in at the back end of a ball game. And you're doing what this team really wants to do. It doesn't matter who is picking up that save or who's closing the game. It's about shortening the game and keeping those starting pitchers as healthy as possible for as long as possible, so we don't have our pets' heads falling off come August, September, and into October. So if Andrew Friedman told us a couple weeks ago, hey, I don't want to shop at the trade deadline, which for people like us sounds a little terrifying because we need some content during that time of year. But if he wants to get all of his heavy lifting done, yeah, Tanner Scott kind of idiot proofs the bullpen going into the middle of the year, going into October and all of that. So again, you said it best. I've kind of flip-flopped on it. My heart wants Tanner Scott. It's just hard to see the Dodgers going to those numbers, but like you said, maybe
I agree. They're not going to those numbers,
yeah.
but I don't think anybody is, and so the numbers will come down. I do
want
to
like
talk
Alex
about
Bregman too, like Bregman trying to get insane amounts of money. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, cheater.
Yeah. I do want to talk about Kiké Hernandez, but we're going to let that steal a couple minutes of our next segment. We're going to take a quick break real quick. We'll come back. We will talk about Kiké Hernandez, and then we'll start thinking about the opening day lineup for the Dodgers. So thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Look, I love sports. I love concerts. I love comedy shows. The thing they all have in common is buying tickets. And that means the other thing they have in common is you can find the best price on Game Time. And now Game Time has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Game Time Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I went with my wife and two sons to a Utah Jazz game last week. Remind me when we get back to tell Clint a funny story about that. And when we were looking at tickets to buy the boys for Christmas, my wife and I checked all the sites, and what do you know? Game Time had the best prices, just like they always promise they will. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets to your favorite events with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. We are back. Thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Thanks to Clint for being here with me tonight. I was going to be solo, and I always appreciate Clint coming on here to help me out with this. Remember, for your second listen, be sure to check out Locked On MLB, hosted by our buddy Paul Francis Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully. If you haven't yet, you can go back and listen to his New Year's Eve episode that I was on talking all about the Dodgers from 2024. It was a lot of fun. Also, be sure to check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles over on YouTube. And remember to go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. And all right, so let's pretend we're still in the first segment. What comes next after the Dodgers sign Roki Sasaki? We talked about Tanner Scott, Kiké Hernandez, and now we mentioned the Dodgers 40-man roster is currently at 39 guys. I think that is more for a Tanner Scott type. I think Kiké Hernandez would be fine waiting until the first day pitchers and catchers report, and then the Dodgers can transfer one of their 8,000 guys who's eligible for the 60-day injured list, transfer him, opens up a 40-man roster spot. I wouldn't be surprised if they already have an agreement in place with Kiké, and it's just, hey, just so you know, we're going to do this as soon as spring training starts, because I don't think that anything would necessarily change for him. The one caveat with that is, especially now that they added Ha-Seong Kim, when you got him and Chris Taylor, like, I have a hard time. I've always said I have a hard time seeing Kiké and Taylor both fitting on this roster at the same time. Even from a practical standpoint, Taylor has his charity event, his Polar Plunge coming up.
Yeah,
I don't think the Dodgers would do anything about his roster spot, before then. I think he needs to be a member of the Dodgers when that happens, even if they are thinking about either DFAing him or trying to trade him or something. But I do think that is an interesting wrinkle, because it's hard to see the fit for Kiké, even if we can all agree that Kiké probably fills that role better than Taylor. Taylor is the one who's currently on the roster.
And costs a lot of money on that roster. Granted, it's not as much as it has been for the last couple of years because he's got just 1 year left. I agree that kind of with most of what you said there. I agree that there is likely some sort of handshake agreement with Kiké Hernandez behind the scenes. He put it out in the open when he did that haircut show or whatever it was here on YouTube. He said, I want to be a Dodger. There's nowhere better to go and win. Very clearly, the boy loves going and playing meaningful games in October. He steps up to the plate. I had this conversation with somebody yesterday. Like, I was asked, like, do you think Chris Taylor's the reason Kiké Hernandez is in Dodger right now? And yeah, I do. I think it would be bad optics for the Dodgers to, we'll just say, eliminate Chris Taylor from the picture, considering the good work him and his wife and his charity are doing, here in Southern California, helping rebuild and with the fires and help the community and all of that, and the polar plunge coming up. So I also agree with that. I also kind of piggy backwards a little bit to the Tanner Scott thing. If you're trying to trade Chris Taylor in some sort of salary offload, and you got another organization like the Cardinals trying to offload some salary, and we've heard Ryan Helsley's available. They're on and on again, off again closer. Maybe something wild and crazy is going on like that, or more likely not a whole lot because they're focusing on Roki. But the thing is, there's always something cooking. There's the wheels are spinning, and we have to let Andrew Friedman cook. So there's a lot of words. I said something.
Yeah. Hey, good job with those words, Clint. That's one of the reasons I wanted you on here.
The best
because
words.
you speak the same language as me, so it's easy to communicate in words. So that's good. I appreciate that. So it'll be interesting. I don't think the Dodgers will officially sign Kiké before spring training starts.
Same.
After that, I still think it's a very real possibility, but there are definitely some complications.
You know what I'm thinking is almost like an AJ Pollock situation with Chris Taylor, because Pollo came to camp in, 2022, expecting to have a job with the team, and then they traded him. The Kimbrel thing happened, all of that noise. That could be something. He probably still reports with this team. I'll ask you, do you think Chris Taylor is a Dodger on international opening day?
My guess is no, but I think the Dodgers as an organization have a huge amount of respect for Chris Taylor, both for what he's done for the team, what he's done for the community, and he took a team-friendly deal. Yes, it feels like a lot of money now that he's not good anymore, but it was a team-friendly deal. He never wanted to leave LA. The Dodgers never wanted him to leave. So it's one of those things where when you're talking about the 26th spot on the roster, I guess Austin Barnes will always be the 26th spot on the roster, 25th spot on the roster. It may be, obviously the Dodgers aren't going to make sentimental decisions on the big things. I think they might on the little things like this.
Yeah.
But then you have similar sentiment with Kiké, so it's, but Kiké did leave, and Chris Taylor didn't when he had the chance to.
That's fair. That's fair.
So, but yeah, I don't know.
But like how long do you honor like a 60 weighted runs created plus though? Listen, we're gonna give you your money. We're gonna give you an opportunity to still go somewhere and make a season. That's
the good thing about baseball instead of football. Contracts are guaranteed. Chris Taylor is getting his money one way or the other.
And before we do move on, because I do want to talk about the next thing you had in mind, but not to poo-poo on Chris Taylor a whole bunch, but he did. I keep saying it. He did post a batting average over 300 in the second half. However, they protected him. They protected the hell out of him, putting up against like the worst pitchers you can find in baseball. Did fix some things in his swing. If he's a Dodger come opening day, I'm not mad. I agree with you though. I think I would be a little shocked if he was. Yeah.
So speaking of opening day, let's jump into this. The Dodgers open the season on March? What is it? 19th?
Something. I think it's 19th. It's one of them. The middle of March in Tokyo against the Cubs.
Yeah, against the Cubs. And so let's talk about what their opening day lineup will be for that game. And some of the things are obvious, although
18th.
I get a little nervous. I'm not super nervous enough to mention it here in the middle of a podcast that, Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman both had surgery this offseason. I assume no news is good news on their recoveries. I'm a little nervous about it. But not super nervous, but so I don't even want to talk about that. I just want to have said that out loud. So now,
that way you can go back and you can be like, no, I pointed it out
I said it on January
15th.
Yep. But so assuming that's back, some of the spots we absolutely know Shohei will be the DH. Freddie will be at first base. Mookie will be at shortstop. We'll come back to that one.
Yeah, he's going to be at shortstop. I appreciate you also talking about Alana and I having Dave on our podcast on Dodgers territory this week. You guys talked about it yesterday, the day before. Dave said, we're excited about him being at shortstop. Mookie Betts is going to be the shortstop, and
if they pull the plug on it, it won't be during spring training.
Exactly,
they'll give it at least a month or two into the season.
Can't do that 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so Mookie at short, Muncy at third. I think we can pretty safely count on Conforto in left and Teoscar in right. That seems to be the plan. Conforto hit lefties really well last year, and so I don't think the Dodgers are thinking of him as a platoon guy right now. Obviously, that could change based on performance. Really, the questions are center field and second base. And so, assuming Shota Imanaga is starting for the Cubs, which seems like a safe bet. He's their best pitcher and the games in Japan. Like, he's clearly going to start one of the two games. I assume it'll be the first one. Who do you have in center field and at second base?
You mentioned we talked just before, and you mentioned Imanaga, and then I wrote out a lineup, and I didn't consider the fact that Imanaga's lefty. I'm going to go bold. I'm going to have some fun with it. I'm going to say, they really want Tommy Edman to be center field, because I was going to say Kiké Hernandez is going to be your starting center fielder, but I think Kiké Hernandez is going to be your starting second baseman against Shota Imanaga, Mike Imanaga, if you're nasty, on opening day.
Interesting. I think it will be a little more.
But also Conforto's probably on the bench against the lefty.
I don't think so. I don't think they're thinking of him as a platoon guy.
Oh, I hate that.
So yeah.
Where does Pages play?
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I think going with guys who are currently on the roster, I can go with Andy Pages as the center fielder, Tommy Edman at second base, because Edman hits lefties better than righties anyway, and so does Pages. That gives you a chance to get both of those guys. I would suspect that for most of the year, when a lefty is on the mound, that will be what we see. Andy Pages in center field and Tommy Edman at second base. And obviously, if the Mookie experiment fails, then Edman would be at shortstop in those situations. But I mean, Edman's a Gold Glove second baseman. Obviously, that I'm hoping that we will see that Andy Pages has improved his defense in center field a little bit, put in the work in the offseason. We'll see. But that's my guess, is Pages in center and Edman at second base on opening day.
Assuming everybody's healthy, sans the people that will not be available to pitch, for the first couple of months, namely Ohtani, Kershaw when he eventually comes back. Who's your opening day starter? Is it Yama if he's healthy?
Obviously, Yamamoto's going to pitch one of those two games.
They also add Blake Snell.
Blake Snell is, it's a good problem to have, having three legitimate guys who all deserve, they all deserve to pitch in that 2-game series, and they can't all pitch in that 2-game series. Yeah. I guess you could piggyback, honestly. But I would guess Yamamoto opening day, unless opening day was part of the negotiations with Blake Snell, although he seemed pretty intent on going to spring training and earning that opening day start. But also, if I had just negotiated an opening day start, that's what I would say at the press conference too, is I'm excited to go out and earn the opening day start. Yeah. So that I could say, see, I told you I earned it.
I earned it. Yeah.
But so Yamamoto will definitely start one of the two games, just even if he didn't,
assuming health,
which he does, assuming health, because it is in Japan. But I could definitely see a case where Snell pitches one game and Yamamoto and Glasnow piggyback the other game when you've got a week off before the actual home opener. I could see something like that.
I wouldn't be shocked to see them hold Glasnow back here in the States, just because he's coming off of an injury and they can kind of use that as an excuse to slow
he's 30
play
feet
him.
Tall, and so riding on an airplane that long is probably not fun. Not good on the back. He had a back injury among his other issues last year, didn't he?
I don't remember. I mean, there was a bunch. I remember mostly the
arm one stuff. Of them was a tight back or something.
Oh yeah, that was the phantom injury
around the All-Star break, right?
Yeah, exactly. He's totally wink. A little bit of Tourette's wink.
The Dodgers do unfortunately have a history of ace pitchers and back problems caused by long airplane flights. So
yeah, we're still mad at you, Australia.
That guy ended up winning the MVP that year.
Fair.
So
rest.
I'll take that trade off.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I think it's Yamamoto though. I initially writing it out. I had Snell. I think it's gonna be Yamamoto. Again, assuming healthy, Yamamoto starts against Imanaga in Japan. Come on, that's theater right there. That is baseball theater. That is global baseball theater. And then maybe Roki's in the mix, but we don't need to talk about Roki. I appreciate you not forcing us to talk a lot about Roki.
That's right.
Today.
We're done with Roki talk for today. He hasn't signed yet. We're going to come back in a second, and we are going to continue. I had a little grumpy old man segment yesterday talking about why people insist on being so dumb about things. I'm going to continue to that. I've earned this gray hair and this beard. I'm going to talk about get off my lawn about people who insist on being wrong about deferred money. So, thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. Hey, that was quick. Here we are. We're back. Thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. Thanks for checking out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles on YouTube. Thanks for becoming a Locked On Dodgers insider at joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. If you haven't yet, please click the subscribe button right now. Click the like button. Shoot a comment in the comments. I know the chat's awesome too, but comments are forever, and that creates engagement, all that good stuff. Again, want to thank my buddy Clint Pasillas of All Dodgers with Clint Pasillas and Dodger Territory with Clint and Alana. Appreciate you, Clint, always being willing to hop on and make it so I don't have to talk to myself for a half hour, which I can do. But
yeah, absolutely, man. It's always fun talking baseball with you. And also congrats. I see you guys past 8K here on the YouTube. That's awesome. Hey, keep hitting them subscribe buttons, guys. You guys that watch this Dodgers content on YouTube, it's a crazy time. There are so many different voices, and most of us are good.
Most of us are good.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of good shows.
A Dodger fan.
There's room for all of us. If you subscribe to us and not Clint, fix that. If you subscribe to Clint and not us, fix that. We're one. Me and Clint, we're like peas and carrots, baby. All right, last thing, just for a few minutes. I'm not going to be grumpy for too long. People are still upset about deferred money, and I think that Shohei Ohtani's contract has broken people's brains. And the big thing that I think people do not understand. Everybody thinks, not everybody, obviously, the dumb people.
The louder ones.
Yeah. The loud people think that deferred money has anything to do with the luxury tax. And that is the biggest misconception, that if I was omnipotent, had all power, and could fix one thing in the world, I know there's hunger. I know there's war and strife and all those things. There's even fires in California. Firefighters handle that. No, I'd fix the fires. If I could fix two things, I'd stop the fires, and then I would just make it so everybody understands that deferrals have nothing to do with the luxury tax. Deferrals are about cash flow. Here's the thing. Shohei Ohtani was not going to get a $700 million contract. Everybody thought 400 to 500 million, $40 to $50 million a year. That's what people were thinking for Ohtani. Right now that Juan Soto got $8 zillion, it's hard for people to remember. This was a lot of money, 14 months ago when Shohei Ohtani signed this contract. It was a lot of money. People did not expect that. People were thinking, he was always the talk, could Ohtani get $500 million? Yeah. That's 500 million, and that could have been over 15 years. Like, people were thinking 40 to 50 million a year. And what he got was $46 million a year. And then he said, hey, what if you don't have to pay me most of it right now because I don't need the money? How about you use a bunch of that to sign other players too and pay me that later with interest? And they said, okay. And so they did that. It's a win-win-win. The Dodgers get cash flow now. $44 million of the $46 million a year that they would have been paying to Ohtani, they don't have to pay right now. And yet it's not as big an advantage as it feels like, because they do have to put it in an escrow account starting 2 years in. And so they get a 2-year head start basically on investing that $44 million that they're saving, because they have to pay interest on it, because by the time they pay it, it's $68 million. But Dodgers owners, the reason they own the Dodgers is because they got rich being really good at investing money, you know? And so Shohei said, okay, only pay me $2 million, take the other $44 million, sign guys like Blake Snell, sign guys like Teoscar Hernandez, sign guys like, trade for Tyler Glass now and extend him, let's win a bunch of World Series, bro.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers said, yeah, bro, let's do that. And then they did a bro handshake, and they did it. The collective bargaining tax never came up.
It's exactly how it went, by the way, everybody.
And
it's
so
exactly.
then, it is. There were so many bros in that contract negotiation.
Bruh.
Then they Jeff. So then they so then the union and the owners say, okay, well, you still got to pay luxury tax. I know you're only paying $2 million on this, but you can't get around that luxury tax. You still got to pay on the full $46 million. And they said, of course. We hadn't even thought about the luxury tax. This wasn't about the luxury tax. This was about cash flow and bros. And so they, yeah, of course, we'll pay the full $46 million on luxury tax. So they do. Shohei Ohtani has the highest luxury tax hit of any player in baseball. Well, he did in 2024. Juan Soto's will be higher because he was the highest paid player in baseball. Mm-hmm. He had exactly the luxury tax hit that he should, because the deferrals have never had even a tiny bit to do with the luxury tax. And I promise you, as soon as those fires are out, my second command as almighty ruler of the universe would be to insert that understanding into people's brains that this has nothing to do with luxury tax. They're not circumventing anything. It's not a loophole. It is cash flow. And you know, like I said to somebody, if you go to and you buy a car for $40,000 and you finance it at 8% for 6 years, and so the total amount you're going to end up paying over the 6 years is $57,000. Well, when you go to DMV to register it and you're paying the taxes, are you paying taxes on $40,000 or $57,000? $40,000, because that's what you bought it for. Everything else is interest. It's exactly the same thing, same concept. It's just bigger numbers. And I wish people would, even if they don't understand it, just stop typing and advertising how much you don't understand it.
And the Dodgers are ruining baseball. Everybody knows this.
Because they're the only team.
No other teams can do it. Yeah, no other teams are allowed to do this.
Only team that ever has, only team that ever will, only team that's allowed to.
Hold on, what did this just end? Corbin Burns $10 million deferred per year by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Breaking.
What? My guests have been flabbered. I'm not sure if I put the verb and the noun correctly and flabbergasted. My flabbers have been gasted.
This is a family show. Come on now.
Yeah, flabber with you and me talking sounds a little bit too much like a fat joke. Anyway, I just wanted to rant a little bit because, like, just either figure it out or stop advertising that you don't understand it. Like, that's all I ask in this world. You know, so
and whichever side you fit in, make sure you guys click and watch our shows because we take you either way.
Yeah, subscribe, comment. Tell me what an idiot I am. I will ignore your comment, but then that just means I want you to do even more. You know, more, and make sure your friends come and watch and comment too. The more people who comment angrily, the more you get your point across. You know, as long as they're viewers. You know, numbers, baby. Hate watches count too.
Hell yeah. Hoorah, bro.
All right. You got anything else, Clint?
No, I'm good. Dodgers territory live tomorrow, noon o'clock. Eric Steven, True Blue LA will be joining myself and Alana Rizzo. And will we have a Roki signing? Probably not.
Probably not, but soon. And he will be a Dodger. He will be mine. Oh, yes. He will be mine. That's Wayne's World. You old enough to remember that?
I'm not a big-time movie guy.
You don't have to be a big-time movie guy to appreciate Wayne's World, man.
That's fair.
All right.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've seen Wayne's World, but that sounds like a whole other different show.
I am done talking to you.
Bob Nightingale in the chat says, my hat is backwards.
Oh, hey, somebody's got to be, because not yours. Clint, thank you again. I appreciate it. Always love talking Dodger with you. Again, be sure to check out Clint's channels. Subscribe to him. Subscribe here. Thank you to all of that. Thank you for being an everydayer. If you're not an everydayer, it's easy to become one. Just watch or listen every weekday morning. You can make that easier on yourself by subscribing wherever you're watching or listening right now. Be sure to check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, the two 24/7 streaming channels on YouTube from the Locked On Podcast Network. You can go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Vince is at Vince Since 91. Clint is at Real FRG. I am at Snydog. All our DMs are open there, so you can DM us there. You can also email us, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or send us a voicemail or a text message to 323-863-LOCK, 5625. We are here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car or sit on your couch, tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. We will talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.